Hello, everybody, and welcome back. I am your host, Madalina Andrei, GMS, former Global Mobility Coordinator and currently Provider Relationship Manager with xpath.global. For those of you yet not familiar with xpath.global, we are the first SaaS-enabled marketplace digital ecosystem in the global mobility sector. To put it in plain English, as I always say, we are the first e-commerce platform in global mobility that enables the direct relationship between local experts and professionals offering specialized services such as immigration, visa, destination, taxation, social security services, and corporate clients in need of such services in all corners of the world. This is the first event we're hosting after the summer holidays and our 10th LinkedIn live event from the xpath.NEXUS series, a series which has as main goal to become a place where we can share best practices in our industry, to learn from each other, and most importantly, to grow together. This episode is aimed at cost drivers that make mobility affordable. Even before the pandemics, the expatriates were regarded usually as being those costly, right, expensive employees within a company. And the global mobility sector in general was witnessing a never-ending struggle with cutting costs. Well, now perhaps more than ever, this struggle has become more apparent, and changes in mobility programs, cost reduction strategies, relocation packages cuts are more and more visible. The global mobility departments, as well as the professional service providers supporting this entire industry, are surrounded by both new and old issues regarding the costs, as costs actually really remains one of the key obstacles that the companies aim to address using a wide range of solutions, right? Taking into account the various changing considerations involved in sending resources abroad. Well, the question is, how can corporate mobility professionals deal with the ever-changing and constant cost challenges? And how can professional expert providers support this challenge and adjust their way of operating and their service delivery? We do not dare saying that we will cover everything about this topic in 60 minutes. Obviously, I think no global mobility topic can ever be covered in 60 minutes ever. Or that we're going to provide you with like a magic recipe for cutting the costs in an efficient manner that will not have any negative consequences. What we will do is we'll discuss this pressing matter from the corporate and the service provider's point of view, how this impacts their activities, and we'll discuss their experiences and real life challenges and obstacles they had to face and overcome. During this session, well, this session is made possible, obviously, with the support of 3 amazing guests that I have by my side. And I would like to thank you all for watching us, for taking the time to be with us. Please feel free to address your comments and any questions we might have, you might have, sorry, in the comment section. And a big thank you to our special guests here. I would like to, enough of me talking, I would like to kindly ask my guests to briefly introduce themselves. We can start alphabetically so that nobody's getting upset. Daniela.
I always was the first in school. I hated my name. So, Madalina, thank you for the invite. Thank you also to xpath.global for this invite and for providing me this opportunity to speak on such a hot topic in this world. Hello, everybody. I'm Daniela Abadino. I'm part of the global mobility team in Kellogg. I'm a team lead. I have over 8 years of experience in global mobility, working with different companies. But for the last 5 years, I'm with Kellogg. Before I go further, I would like to emphasize one thing: is that all my answers that I will provide are based on my broader experience and doesn't represent necessarily Kellogg position.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of my experience, I wasn't born a global mobility professional. I was actually more into numbers, economic. So I worked in different fields in HR. I started in recruitment, Then I moved to payroll. And as much as I love the numbers, I needed more excitement in my life. And I found it in global mobility. Because if I can say something about global mobility, for me, it's just my opinion. For me, it's the most complex and dynamic field in HR. And since I started, it was love on the first sight. And now I cannot shake it off. I'm still in love with global mobility after 8 years.
Yeah.
I think that it's important for a professional to to love his job. And as a global mobility professional, I always think that having communication skills, planning, and problem solving skills, good work ethic, but most importantly, I think it's empathy, and this will help you in your role the most. And this is all from my side.
Excellent, 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 Daniela. It's amazing. It's amazing the tenure in our industry. You know, it appears. I always say that it appears that once you enter, you can't go out. Right? You never go out.
Exactly.
You just stay there.
It's like a virus. You cannot get out.
Thank you, Daniela.
Thank you,
Andreas.
Yeah, Madalena, thank you very much. Hello, everybody. My name is Andreas Krenzel. I'm the Managing Director of IBN Immigration Solutions. We are a South African-based African immigration company. We have offices in 3 different African countries, in Kenya, Mozambique, and Namibia. Maybe very shortly to me personally, I grew up in Europe. Most people can still hear it. So I'm a qualified German attorney. I studied in Belgium, and then kind of over 20 years ago, made my way to South Africa. And by coincidence, because Cape Town did not have many jobs really available for German qualified lawyers, I stumbled into immigration. And well, yes, like Daniela already said, you kind of get hooked on it. And then obviously, since I joined the Euro and the international scene, made lots of friends and really enjoying what I'm doing. Yeah, and that's really in short to myself.
Super, super. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Andres. Raman, I just noticed you took a sip of I think it was Coca-Cola, perhaps, right?
It was actually a Jack Daniel with Coke to keep me going. It's 8 p.m. in India, if you don't mind.
Of course.
You know, it's time for a glass of red wine.
We just envy you. We just envy you.
Yeah. I'm sure. You should have made one for yourself too today.
Please.
No,
please,
everyone,
Raman.
it's good to be here. Thanks for having us here, and it's great to be on the panel with Daniela and Andreas. And as Daniela said, I was also never from the mobility industry. I was always in the hospitality or the tourism industry. Before this, I worked for a French company called Club Med for 3 years, and then I ventured into corporate travel management till one day, while playing golf with some Japanese, formulated or conceptualized the business model of what today is a mobility management company called Formula Group. And we operate across 8 cities in India. We're a complex country. We work across integrated service verticals, from DSP to immigration to fleet management to corporate housing, and yeah, we've survived the pandemic so far. Business is up and going, and I think a lot of learnings there. And I'm sure cost cutting is definitely one of the key during this pandemic, which has been a topic amongst a lot of corporates, clients, mobility managers, and so on. So yeah, well-timed topic, Madalena, and I hope to learn a lot more from our panelists here.
Thank you very much. So I'll just start with my first question. Among the main classic mobility cost drivers, well, possibly the main challenges faced by mobility practitioners and specialists out there comprise, for example, a shrinking local workforce, right? Smaller local talent pool, the degree of location attractiveness, various personal reasons of the employees not wanting to move abroad, or simply lack of international recruitment processes internally, right? We'll start with a corporate view on this. So Daniela, my question would be, have you witnessed or experienced any labor market shortages in the countries or the regions that you are covering or that you're present in?
So thank you, Mother. Indeed, I think the labor market shortage is now one of the hottest topic these days, especially following the gradual recovery of the economic activities. As far as I know, as I heard the news, there are problems in US, Europe, and Latin America. I'm more familiar with the US region because I'm leading North America and Latin America. And what I have learned from colleagues and from the news is that what is happening now in US, it's really a paradox because the number of the Americans that are unemployed equals the number of job offering, but the companies still complain that they don't have they sense this labor market shortage, and of course there are various reasons about that. I don't think we need to go into deep, but there are a lot of many reasons. So probably the pressure now it's on the talent acquisition teams more than most of the pressure is for them, and they need to come with creative solution for finding this workforce, because if it's not available within the company, if it's not available in the market, the solution I see, and we are of course recommending as a global mobility specialist, is to go outside the borders. And we try that. We try that in US, going outside the borders. But let's say that pandemic did a pretty good job in making our efforts much tougher.
Unsuccessful, yeah.
Exactly. What we faced is even though we find talent outside US, I know in Europe, in Latin America, the procedure for getting a work permit and the time for getting a work permit is very complicated. So it's very hard to find a person and bring it into US. Now what is happening in most of Europe countries, the consulates are opened partially or even closed, and there are travel restrictions in place. So you cannot travel directly from a Schengen area into US. So it's becoming also costly because of this, of all of this. What we did, let's say successfully, was to bring people from Mexico.
Exactly. That was my next question, asking if there were any measures that you deployed, you applied to try and tackle this shortage of labor.
Yes, we looked in Mexico because Mexico didn't have the same restrictions, and what is easier for us, easier in terms of the visa procedure to bring people from there. And one solution I can think of now is maybe Puerto Rico for bringing people into US, because Puerto Rico, they are US citizen.
So basically, you try to find the relevant workforce in the countries that allowed, based on their immigration procedures, an easier transfer of their local workforce to the US.
Actually, it's not that the countries didn't allow; it's that the restriction imposed by the previous proclamation by the previous president. There were restrictions in place for different countries. Mostly they were for Schengen area, for Brazil, for India. So these are restrictions that are still in place, and it's very hard to bring people. You need, I don't know, emergency appointment visas. So you have to have like a critical reason to get into US, and all kind of restriction that makes our work really hard. So I think this is the problem now that we're facing. Regardless of this shortage, it's hard to find outside. Because of not hard to find, you find it, but then it takes 6 months to get the person into US. So I don't know if the hiring manager will be happy to wait this long.
Yeah. Would you say this labor shortage is much widespread than US and LATAM? I believe it is, and perhaps
Yes.
Andreas and Raman will tell us later as well in their regions, because obviously companies would be looking at sourcing local talent first, right? But the thing is that they can't find the talent anymore, right? So you're forced to go outside and look for it.
Exactly. This is happening, and as I was saying, I'm covering North America and Latin America, but I have colleagues in Europe. We are a global team, and there are issues there too.
Yeah, everywhere. Daniela, have you ever had to offer like special relocation packages to your employees to be able to bring them to the right role and the right location? Is it easy to convince employees in general to become international mobile, right? To move abroad?
That's an interesting question. That's a very interesting question. Thank you. So I think that we as Global Mobility, we have a big hat, maybe two or more hats.
Yeah, several.
But several hats, yes. But I think the most important one, skill we should have is to be agile, flexible, and as you say, as I was mentioned, I don't know, to think outside the box and to look further. So probably we should be ready to design and implement policies that will fit the need of the business, but at the same time to offer the right support to the relocating employees. And it's a fine balance between that.
It is like a fine line, very fine line.
Exactly, it's a fine line between that. But again, as I was saying, there can be specific situation when a company organization might need a specific relocation package to be designed. There are cases when there is an extension of the business or a reorganization, and I think that the organization can leverage their global mobility teams to come up with a policy for I don't know, for a specific project, that tailor-made policy, I mean.
Yeah, like a customized one.
Exactly, like a customized one for this specific situation. And I think this can be a solution to attract the right talent in a short period of time.
Great. Yeah.
In terms of convincing,
sometimes you need convincing, right? You also need to.
Exactly. I agree. Sometimes you need convincing. But if you ask me, it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be a matter of convincing. Sometimes we need to sweeten the offer, the relocation offer, if we want and add some extra benefits if you really want that person. But I see it as a costly solution. And we are trying to debate how we can decrease costs. So that's why I don't recommend it's a costly solution. The way I see it, a better solution, in my opinion, will be a matter of a better alignment between the global mobility and talent management function. Because if you have a well-developed global mobility strategy and a strong candidate pool, this will enable talent deployment when overseas position open up.
Yeah, faster. Yeah.
Exactly, faster. And here the companies need to do their part. They will need to constantly evaluate their employees and develop skills so they can be ready for taking this role when it's required.
Yeah, when the need arises.
Exactly.
Yeah, super. Thanks a lot, Daniela.
Thank you.
Raman, if we're thinking about the last couple of years, have you ever had clients who were forced to upgrade, let's say, their relocation benefits for their employees so that they could convince them to move to a location where the local workforce was not suitable, or perhaps it was totally missing? Have you experienced this? Have you seen this?
Yeah, I think we're a complex country. We have many cities, and every city is different, and it depends, where they have been looking for talent, or where they have been wanting to relocate such people. I think to attract talent and to be able to, and as maybe somewhere Daniel has said correctly, also was it also depends how valuable is that talent for you, and how important is that talent for you, and how much are you ready to make that particular posting attractive for that particular talent. So I think yes, companies have had to kind of upgrade their kind of relocation packages at times, depending on the cost of living of that particular state, or the local rental market at that particular point of time, to ensure that they get what they want, they accept that particular position. So at one point of time, they used to be, because post-COVID, I think they're not happening much, is what we call the look and see programs, for example, where a particular assignee or potential candidate at that point of time would come in and would do a look and see trip, which was fully paid for by the company, before he would go back. And he would come in, do an orientation, then look and see, and see the neighborhood and everything, schools or whatever, if they had kids or families, and would go back and then make up his mind whether he wants to accept that position, right? And his inputs were very valuable, because if he was very valuable for the company, and he had such certain inputs saying that, well, he definitely wants to live in a certain neighborhood, or wants to have his kids in some school which were more expensive than the budget for that particular position allowed. So the companies had to step up and kind of say, okay, yes, we are ready to upgrade that package. So I think companies have in the past been depending how valuable that particular position and the talent for that position is, and if it cannot be sourced locally, of course it becomes more valuable, and for the purpose for which that particular position is open. But I think pandemic changed all that, because as we just spoke about, visa rules changing, and changing vaccine rules, or whatever, ever changing rules, as I would call it, not only across the globe, but also across within countries. For example, within India, so there are some states which have different rules for entry, and I think that made it very difficult for people to come in and do a look and see kind of a trip, and say that, because they would not get a business visa. Fortunately, India ensured that in India, that work permits were not banned for a long time. They were, so if you had a work permit, you could come in and you could move into the country, of course, post the specified quarantine period for that particular state. But if you want to come and look and see program, that would have been a tough one. So I guess they had to be innovative ways had to be thought of by mobility companies or mobility management companies like us, to kind of make sure that the assignee or that particular candidate, during a call or during a virtual tour, still accepts and is gets that feel of that particular place, and says that, okay, yes, I'd like to take that job. And yes, I mean, while we're talking about cost, as this is supposed to be how to cut costs, it did increase the cost of certain companies. It does increase the cost of certain companies to be able to get the people what they really want, who they really want on that position, and upgrade their packages. But I guess for India, it's a slightly different, as I would say, because India itself is a huge country with a huge, highly educated, talented population. And I think
and everybody wants it. Raman, everybody wants it.
Yeah.
The whole world wants it.
Yeah, and so I must say that there have been a lot of local recruitments happening to be able to connecting the dots to the cutting cost topic, so that they're able to recruit if almost the same talent locally, so that they don't have to incur that kind of expense, and be able to fill in those positions, keep the show going on at the right pace, or meet their budgets or targets, and so on. So I think as we talk on, I mean, I think that's where the offerings or the needs, or our own the way we offer services or structure ourselves had to be adapted to these changing times and changing needs of various companies who are looking at engaging talent, whether it's within India or bringing it from outside into India.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Raman. Let's see what happens when the state authorities actually have, well, they have a role to play in this challenge, and they make the situation even worse, right? Andreas, you're covering more than 22 countries on the African continent with your specialized immigration present in your services present in your portfolio. Are there any countries that have a quota in place? Because obviously this would impact highly, and companies will be forced to think about other possible solutions. I'm thinking now an example from my home country. We have a shortage of 1,100 employees, and we have a quota for 30,000. So the situation is bad, right? So what's the situation in Africa?
Yeah, regarding the quotas, look, I mean, I think as a mayor, I think big differentiator, obviously Africa doesn't have, well, we might have a skills shortage, but we have a high unemployment rate, right? South Africa now after the crisis at 44%, that's a lot, right? 44%, and in other African countries you have similar rates. So, I mean, everybody's expecting that Africa is probably going to export labor very soon. But when it comes to skilled labor, obviously the discussion is a slightly different one now, because there's certainly skill shortages. Now, regarding your queries regarding the quotas, look, there's only Mozambique really has a quota. They have a strict quota. Basically, they link it to the size of the companies. They don't create quotas per, let's say, professional class, what you were referring to, okay? So, and Ghana basically also knows a quota, but they connect it to an investment. So if you invest over a certain amount of money, then you get a quota of foreigners you can get with that. But that's like a trade incentive. It's not a typical quota, what you would refer to it, you know, in immigration purposes. But otherwise, Africa doesn't know quotas. And the simple reason is just that we're really strong protecting the local labor market for, I think, obvious reasons I just mentioned initially.
Yeah, of course, of course. Can you please share with us perhaps some of the obstacles that you had to face in the last, I don't know, past couple of years that caused the assignments costs to go up? What did you do? What solutions did you come up with to make processes more efficient from an immigration perspective? I mean.
Yeah, I think there are two drivers when it comes to an increase in costs. Okay, driver number one is the added complexity by the legislator. So they're still requiring another document, and then although the law doesn't change, they require an additional transfer of skills plan, or they, you know,
another stamp. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically they're adding more and more documents or another requirement. So that's, I think, cost driver number one, where the legislation doesn't change, but the practical implementation. And then obviously, in addition to that, the administrative deficiencies when it comes to efficiency, etc. So, I mean, during COVID, I'm not quite sure how it was for you in your countries, but at least on the African continent, things have definitely not taken shorter, rather obviously the opposite. So that is a cost driver, right? Because I mean, if you're sitting on a file instead of 4 weeks, you're sitting now for 8 weeks on a file, and you have to update clients, and people are asking, that's a cost driver for us, right? So that's where the cost. Then the number two, I think, is the other cost driver is probably coming now from the corporates. Because a lot of corporates, they would ask us to obviously use their systems and work on their systems, which requires our employees to sometimes use various systems to upload the cases, the documents, etc. And that's clearly a cost driver, because you need a certain quality of employees who can work on various systems parallel, and also adds complexity for us, right? Because it's much more difficult to train on 4 different systems than instead of 1. And I think these two are that. How did we overcome? Well, I think my answer is already in there. Obviously, you're trying with your own case management to really kind of use that more, and then constant training and finding the right people, which obviously has implementations to hiring, screening, and all these other things. In short, I think that's how we're trying to counter that. Yeah.
Super, Andre. Getting back to other possible cost drivers involved in mobility processes, there would be various personal reasons, right, of the employees not wanting to move, or location attractiveness, or on the contrary, lack of attractiveness. Daniela, sometimes people just don't want to move internationally, right? Personal reasons otherwise doesn't really matter. Do you believe that having in place an incentivizing scheme to convince employees to relocate would be good practice? And what should mobility practitioners in general take into account when they are developing and devising such a scheme?
Yeah, that is a tough one. Yeah, because of course
We
there
don't
are
have
these
the perfect
situations.
recipe. I said
Indeed,
that from the beginning, so
indeed.
we are
I will
covered.
not. I'm not going to come with the magic solution,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But as you said, there might be a lot of situation, a lot of reason when an employee might hesitate to relocate. I think that the first thing you should do as a global mobility professional is to understand the exact reasons that might hold back an employee from relocating. So listening to the employees' concern about relocation, I think it's is the first thing to do. Because there might be, the reason might be solvable. I don't know, maybe he wants to wait for this kids to start school, or he has question on the, maybe the spouse has question on job opportunities in the location. So if it's something fixable, for sure, we as a global mobility will try to fix it.
Of course, yeah.
Again, having a relocation policy in place, this is the first one, and the relocation program can help or hold back an organization efforts to hire and or retain talented employees. So I think the first thing is to have a competitive relocation package. This is a must when you are presenting to a new employee, new opportunity in a different location. If I would have to draft to I don't know, to design such policy, probably I will look at some big, let's say, some points that I will include, that I think they are a must, on my opinion. First of all, will be compensation, because it can be a difference between the cost of living in home country versus host country, and the employee, of course, will look, and I think that the company should provide here the support the employee will need and cover that difference. Second of all, I think it's important for the companies to work with professional relocation firms, because they will ease the stress on the employee and the family with having such a move, because it's a big change, and it's not only for the employee, the entire family will feel it. So
yeah,
it's important.
Will be impacted.
Will be impacted, exactly. The third one, yeah, and this one is applicable when will be free COVID. I think it's important to provide the employer with a house hunting trip or look and see trip, because they will get the feeling, they will see if, okay, here I have some school for my kids, here I have a restaurant. They will maybe can decide on a house on the spot. So this will, I don't know, will make the employee and the family, will make the unknown a little bit known.
Known, yeah.
Exactly. And last but not least, it's very important that the company will offer support to the employee with moving and travel expenses, because we all know this is it represents a big part of the cost of moving an employee. So I think it's important that the company will support at least part of this cost, if not all. So probably these are the 4 points I will include.
The most important ones. Yeah.
Yes, on my opinion.
Thank you. I would take the third point, the third most important thing that you mentioned a bit earlier, and ask a question to Raman. We know some of the relocation, well, destination services are usually used as incentives, clearly, to help employees accept an assignment in a certain location. They are used to sell, right? To sell the location and the assignment. And in this case, the relocation professionals are becoming like the extension, the direct extension of the HR departments or the global mobility practitioners in their effort to convince a person or the family to come to a certain location. What kind of services our destination providers should have in place for such cases? And have you ever been in the situation where your services were used to help sell the location and the assignment? And well, could you share a couple of examples?
Yeah, it's especially post-pandemic, and having people wanting to relocate, and the challenges they face have changed a lot. And I think the first most important thing, of course, as Daniela said, that of course they must have an attractive package and everything, and and all that stuff. But I think today it's all about the human mind. I think the willingness to accept the change in their life by relocating is very, very important. And I think as a relocation professional or as a professional relocation management company, we need to address that first moment we are in Connect as an extended arm of an HR of a company, that well, we want this person to come to India and we want them to accept this particular position. I think the first thing is to kind of address the mind of that person, because we must accept that during this pandemic time, there is people are more concerned. People are have more anxiety of going
anxious
to unknown places. They don't want to go to a place where no man has gone before. As they were saying. So people want that to eliminate that fear that okay, they're going to the new place. So therefore, that causes them a little amount of stress and so on. So I think that needs to be addressed first. And I think
and how do you make it? How do you do it?
Actually, that's a good question, because we actually engage in our team a psychologist, to be able to firstly train our own consultants.
Amazing.
On how to engage with candidates or assignees or new clients coming in, and how to change themselves and how to change their own approach. And I think we developed what we call a 360 degrees need assessment tool, which is a formula trademark kind of a product, where as Daniela would know that moment there's a new candidate, there's always a first connect call which happens with the candidate to kind of understand the needs of that particular person, that before he comes in there, what does he actually need. So I think we managed to engage a psychologist in our team, so that we should be able to ask the right kind of questions to open up the person across on the other end of the line, sitting in another time zone, and so on, so that person would talk eventually more freely about what are their concerns. Do they have anything they are they don't like? They have kids. Is there something they would need? And we had a case, which was, you're right, we had a case very recently where there was someone who was coming in with a daughter, and the daughter had certain medical challenges also, and it finally, that call went very well, and she opened up, and we actually understood what the needs were actually in more details, and we were able to actually convince her that okay, when you come in, we will actually send you virtual videos which they could see on our app or on our technology, and see and do an orientation and see that there were enough medical support or hospitals or the necessary specialists in those hospitals which could address their particular requirements if needed. And I think that went very well. So our consultants managed to have the right kind of connect on the call by opening up that person's mind and addressing all her anxiety, putting them at ease that yes, we understand very well what you really need, and then being able to kind of provide them a solution, a more human kind of a service by using a mix of their personal experience and the technology we had, so that even if the person could not travel, was convinced and was kind of reassured that yes, not to worry, your concerns will be taken care of, and you will be far more than comfortable when you're here. And So I think that's one thing which is very, very important, is to be able to kind of connect with the person, to understand the mind, understand the needs more than ever, more than before right now, and be able to find a solution accordingly for the assignees coming in. And I think also on the ground, being able to ensure that when people are actually here, when assignees are here, is to be able to kind of ensure that they feel, we must accept, they must feel COVID safe right now, that they are in a safe environment, they're in a safe car, they're keeping in mind in a culture where we have a large population and there could be a lot of people around you which they might not be used to that, to kind of prepare them for that, and to ensure that they would, this is what they need to do, or the do's and don'ts are well explained to them before they come in. So I think so it's about changing your services from qualitatively by becoming more empathetic, training our teams to become more empathetic during these times, to be able to understand needs of the clients better, and to be able to create a solution around it, so that a lot of companies today, a lot of people today really don't want to go out and see 20 houses today, right? They don't want to be out in the field today if they're going out. So one should be able to, like we are able to, make them see a virtual tour, so they actually go on the ground just to read the final 2 houses in just one, maybe a couple of hours, and say, okay, well, we like this one and let's close it. So I think those are the kind of changes, bringing in more efficiency, because that also cuts down the costs on the ground, where for the HR or for the corporate, so that they don't have to spend, like earlier there used to be 5 days package which was given, and nowadays I think a 5-day package is kind of obsolete, because nobody wants to be on a 5-day on a ground right now during these times. They want to go there,
of course,
that half day or that 1 day, and be able to finish off their home search, but they can only do that if you're able to kind of understand their needs better. One, be able to use, besides the human touch, we should be able to use our technology to be able to ensure that they can visibly see what they want to see, and then be able to go down and finish off what they want, so that they're satisfied, they've got what they want, their concerns, they are addressed, they don't have any stress or anxiety about they're moving to an unknown place, and therefore, as an extension of an HR mobility, kind of a division, we are able to make sure that it's a very successful and smooth and efficient move. And and the key is that whoever is coming in is coming to perform, and the HR needs to make sure that their productivity is up there, rather than focusing on or managing their relocation stress. And that's what we need to take over by using these strategies.
Yeah.
So
thanks.
So that's what we're implementing right now.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Raman. Excellent examples. I'm thinking now, for example, well, usually it's the eliminations and the cuts and the reductions are happening in those areas of services which are, people believe they are nice to have, right? Like destination services or moving services, cross-cultural trainings, services like these ones. What happens when it comes to compliance? Andreas, have you noticed any various changes in the way your clients purchase immigration services and visa services? As an immigration expert, how do you see the relationship between corporate cutting costs strategies on mobility processes and the mandatory immigration services that, well, they need to be delivered, right? Can immigration lawyers, can immigration companies support this effort in any way?
Yeah, Madalena, I mean, these are lots of questions in one long sentence, and a couple of issues, right?
It's a whole idea. It's a whole idea there.
I listened 4 now. I counted 4. So now I'm a bit nervous that I answer all 4, because I want to answer all 4, right? So anyway, let me maybe get started. Okay, so have we witnessed a change in purchasing pattern, right? That was the first.
Exactly.
So, and I think, if I may, we obviously service private clients as well as direct corporates, as well as RFCs, right? So we still have a fairly large amount of private clients even coming to us. So for the private clients, there has definitely been a fundamental change in the requests. 10 years ago, 20 years ago when I started, and there was no real internet, I mean, they just came to me because I was German and they spoke German, or Swiss or Austrian German, and that was your sale, right? But now, obviously, the other extreme is the younger the clients are getting, the more they know, the Facebook groups, VFS, which is a service provider where you submit your applications. You all also know that. That kind of indicates that they think they know what is supposed to happen. So they come to us really to either get advice. They have two options, option A and B, and they really come to us for pure advice. Or they want to say, okay, I think I qualify for option A. Here's my documents. Can you review it? And can you just, point out to me what is missing? So for privates, that has definitely changed. We still have a full service packages, but we had to introduce smaller packages, so to say. Obviously, when we talk about the advice giving, it requires a very different consultant, a real advisor, compared to when you purely do casework, right? Because Raman explained it so absolutely correct, and Daniela also spoke of empathy right in the beginning. If you really want to give advice, you need to be able to understand what the client really wants, where they come from, what are their expectations, and you need to be quite clear about it. But that's the privates. The corporates, I have to say, we were obviously shielded for a long time, a little bit, because of the compliance, and the people needed the work permit. So there was not really a lot of requests that we now downscale the packages. What is happening on the corporate side, I would say, is that they imply or require that you don't charge for a phone call, that you don't charge for the emails, that there's a package price, and then you're available for the calls, you're available for all the updates, and all this is kind of included. So it's a bit of a bracket creep, so to say. But yeah, we didn't have now fundamental changes there. I think that's that, and how we reacted to it on the corporate side. As I said, we introduced that, obviously, that we are available for phone calls, that we see each other as a partner to the corporate or to the RMCs, that we are available and can jump on a call, and not, there's no tab running with a typical law firm, which makes it a bit awkward sometimes what to ask and what not to ask.
Yeah. Thinking, you mentioned downgrading the packages to support the effort of cutting costs. Have you ever thought how this would be possible from an immigration services perspective? With relocation destination, it's pretty fairly clear, right? But how do we do it with immigration and legal compliance?
Yeah, so there's obviously, since 2 or 3 years, I'm thinking about I start with the privates again. So we're currently thinking about a complete self-help kind of thing. So you do some pre-movies and you have, some guidance, etc. But that's purely business to customers, B2C, right?
Yeah.
And with the corporates, it's a bit more tricky. And quite frankly, I have a feeling they really want the advice, and they want somebody who can advise and give them the best solution. So there is not too much scope.
Daniela is laughing a bit.
In downscaling.
She's smiling.
But where we do downscale is the following. So in Africa, because I'm not doing South Africa only, right? And South Africa is usually, compared internationally, a rather cheap destination from a service fee perspective. But if you compare now to Nigeria or Kenya or Morocco, so typical high or expensive countries, there, yes, I do think there might be a path to say, okay, we're going to compile the application, and then we're sending it off, and the applicant has to do certain things themselves to just cut down the cost. And then the other lever is obviously the communication model, right? So are you in contact with the assignee, with HR, or only the RMC? So there's different communication models. And that obviously also a lever potentially for cost reduction, because if I'm not in contact with the corporate, if I'm not in contact with the assignee, then, and I'm working on a case management system, then I can use employees who are very file orientated, very procedural orientated, but they don't have to have cultural experience like me now, who lived in 3 different continents, and some of my other staff. They don't need to be maybe legal advisors to give proper advice and be on a call with a C-level executive and be taken for serious, right? So I think that's the other lever, but that depends again on the demand of our clients. And unfortunately, not obvious, well, fortunate rather, they don't all want the close communication models. Most actually with the open communication model. Yeah, so in short, there are some levers to reduce cost, in my opinion, but luckily, I don't think that many. And then the last comment I want to make is obviously also, at least now for South Africa, we were always a bit shielded because our currency got weaker compared to the euro and the US dollar in the last 10 years. So we didn't have to increase our prices because of the exchange rate, and we had euro or dollar prices. We actually got price increases through the devaluation of our currency. So that's where we could keep the pricing stable.
You managed, Andrea, to answer all the questions.
Okay, good. So then I need to be
you.
quiet now. Sorry.
No. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Please, Raman.
I think Andrea was worried that, you know, if I cut costs, if I cut, you know, how will we make profits? So, you know, so selling values, giving valuable advice is a good way to charge. And I'm sure companies like Kellogg's will pay the right amount of fees for a great advice, right?
We'll get back to Daniela in just a second. I just want to continue this idea, Raman. But you're covering a very important relocation destination, right? India. Well, if you noticed anything different about international assignment packages in the past couple of years, and now I will have like a series of questions which are all interrelated with one another. What outcomes will be if some important elements are eliminated from the packages? Let's think, for example, a company decides to cut costs by eliminating the home search or the rent paid by the company, and so on and so forth. How do you think this will affect the well-being of the assignees and their families, right? On one hand, and then are there any essential fundamental elements that should never ever be removed? Nobody should touch those, right? And if so, what would be? And what would be like the minimum essential relocation package that would make assignees happy and it would be satisfactory from a well-being perspective? There are a lot of questions, but actually it's the same idea.
I hope somebody
took
note of all these questions because I don't know where to start. But yeah, I think the one thing they should not eliminate is using mobility professional like us. Otherwise, we'll be eliminated. So
true, correct.
So I think that's definitely there because there's a huge amount of value which mobility companies like us provide. You know, as I explained, whether it's trained consultants, it's the empathy, it's the making sure converting the unknown to the known before they come there. All those are value adds which every assignee finds, and I think eliminating a home search would be a suicidal, especially when companies at these times when everybody wants to grow and wants to kind of be on that progressive path. You definitely want to hold on to talent, and retaining talent is a big subject among the HR people today. And I think ensuring that they get the right kind of a relocation package with the right amount of support. I agree, you can cut cost while doing that, and that could be by firstly, you know, some of the changing and answering a couple of questions, and that is also one is I think a lot of companies can kind of adapt their relocation packages they're giving to their employees. As I said, instead, you know, nobody should be giving a 5-day home search today because every company has a technology which can give them a virtual feel of where they want to go and move it to a 1-day or a 2-day support, especially post-move-in support, for example, after they move in to get a settling in done, to get their Wi-Fi, cable, all those things, which are really the pains of every relocating employee to be taken care of. I think also the trends are changing. A lot of companies are changing the way they are recruiting and the way they are sending people. So, for example, in India, you know, a lot of companies are moving away from sending people for long term to you know, for 3 years, for example, or 2 years to short-term assignments. So and we see a huge increase in requests for temporary accommodation or for corporate housing, which is from 6 months to 12 months, because they're sending in people for assignments for 6 months to 12 months to come and do the job and go back. And if they really need them back, they will send them back again for another 6 months. So I think moving away from the home searches, I think the need for temporary accommodation is going up a lot. In India, as we call Tempaco. That's one. The other thing, you know, because of all the challenges with crossing borders and ever-changing immigration rules and COVID-related rules or vaccination-related rules, there's been a lot of recruitment which is happening within the country because there is talent available, which means that moving people from one city to the other which we call an intra-India move, has been on the increase for a lot of companies, where people are saying, okay, we're opening a new center in Pune, for example, and they're moving maybe 100 people from Bangalore to Pune, and so on and so forth. So I think that is the next thing which is happening is that companies are hiring locally and moving them locally. It's much easier for them to do that. It's more cost effective for them to do that. And I don't think that, if I'm moving from New Delhi, where I live, to Bangalore, it's going to be such a great cultural shock for me, because I still know it's my country, and I still know, though I still don't speak that language, they have a totally different language there, but still it's still the same country that you can access all kinds of foods there. I think the third thing which is changing is that because of challenges in maybe visas and many other things, there is a lot of Indian talent which is already working outside India in various countries, whether it is in the US, whether it's in Europe, or whether
the largest
in
expatriate
Asia.
population, actually.
Exactly. So you see that it's much easier for companies also to hire these Indians, or to, even if looking into their own talent pool within other countries abroad, they are moving those particular people who are Indian origin or Indian nationals back to India for a posting in India, because they feel that that can be done more easily. It can be cost effective also, for that matter, because they don't need to give that kind of an expensive support package while relocating, because they are not moving from an unknown to an unknown territory. They know the country very well. So I think that's the third change we have seen, where we've seen a lot of senior positions also being people moving into the country into senior positions who are Indians instead of really foreign nationals, but Indians who are not necessarily Indian, but Indians of Indian origins, of even if they're foreign nationals or citizens of other countries, but they are Indian origin, and they're moving into the country to occupy or to take over such positions. So I think these are the few changes we've noticed, from domestic moves to people coming in for temporary accommodation, and people of Indian origin living abroad being brought in to occupy important positions to make it easier for them in the transition for them. So
and
those are the few things.
That's great, Rahman. If you were to devise that essential package that we can't live without as expatriates, what would that be?
So I think I think in India you would definitely need home search support for sure, not a 5-day, but maybe a 1-day home search. But I think a 2-day, where 1 day is a home search, and 1 day definitely, whether it's a school search if they have kids, or a settling and support, so that they're able to really get all the plug and play activities done, services done, as I said, internet, Wi-Fi, water connection, or what it is, cable connection, whatever they need to live a comfortable life. So that's one. And I think ensuring that they have a car and a chauffeur in India is very, very critical, because nobody really likes to drive, and we've noticed that has been a big part of everybody's package to attract them and to keep them kind of happy or content with that relocation move over there. So I think these two are the key things which need to be offered by companies who kept, not eliminated.
Thank you very much. Daniela, I'm getting back to the corporate side now. After all these information from immigration and relocation perspectives, what should mobility practitioners consider when they have to keep the transferees happy and content and satisfied, and also keep the costs low? How do you juggle with those challenges? Because obviously having them both is not exactly very easy. We talked about the very, very fine line right at the beginning.
Exactly. So first of all, I just want to tell you that I'm not a big fan of randomly cutting costs. Just like to take a package and start chopping. So no, I don't like that. But I think that the global mobility teams should have a frame to be able to juggle with the benefits depending on the needs of the employees. And this frame can be achieved, I don't know, by implementing core flex policies, or there can be solutions. And since I'm saying I'm not a big fan of the cutting costs like this randomly, probably I will need to come up with something else, correct? So I think that there can be, I don't know, the companies can look at, let's say, of other solution of cutting costs that will not, let's say, have like a direct impact on the employee. Like in the moment he's signing the offer, he will receive less benefits. And one solution I think I already mentioned is building a core flex policy. Also, they can the companies can use segmenting policies, and using that, they will be able to shift the budget from, I don't know, less essential assignments to the assignments with a bigger impact. Also, what the companies can do, they can use tax planning, because there are several countries that can offer tax reliefs for expats. They can look at the way the contract is structured. They can look at the way the costs are allocated between home and host. Also, they can look at the way the benefit is delivered, because paying a benefit in cash, then a benefit in kind might be a way of cutting cost. Indeed, might require more administration, but in the end can be a solution to cutting cost. Another thing I would like here to mention, because I think it's very important, is to have a exception policy in place. Because having an exception policy in place should clarify what is non-negotiable, and will help to keep the exception in line with the core principle of the policy, as opposed to ad hoc deals and cutting randomly things.
And negotiations.
Exactly, and negotiations. Also, there are many things I can think of it. Another way would be, I don't know, a very good collaboration between global mobility and talent management, and I will explain why. The companies have increased cost because of a lack of choice. Because if you have the possibility to choose between more employees that can come from a different home country with a different compensation, different family status, then your cost will go down. If you have this possibility to decide between one employee and another. But this again means planning for future assignments, means expanding the mobile talent to identify employees that are willing to move and to invest in the employees, basically. Another thing would be, I don't know, cost tracking. I think it's very important that the employees will keep a track of the, I don't know, what was estimated and what is actually happening with the cost of an assignment. And here the global mobility teams should leverage the advantage we have and the technology we have available now, because you can I don't know, get reports around the exception, around the cost by each policy tier, about the division. And I think this will help to understand from where the cost is coming, instead of just randomly cutting things. Yeah. And also consider caps. I think that the companies can include caps in the relocation policy. Caps, for example, for the salaries that are used for calculation the COLA, cost of living. So this, let's say I'm more happy with doing this than just cutting here and here.
We are happy to hear, I'm sure.
Yes.
Well, I think you'll find it perhaps a bit hard to believe, but our session is up. So engrossed in our discussion. I know. It's been amazing, really. I'm sure our audience, I didn't got the chance to properly say hi and engage with our amazing audience. We've been well, I was engrossed in here. So many businesses are facing the talent mobility necessity with a growing pressure to minimize mobility costs, and we've managed in this session to tackle briefly some of the challenges, and we've listened to interesting examples and solutions from our three great mobility professionals guests out here. I would like to thank all three of you very, very much for taking the time to join us and for all the great insights and input you've shared with us. A big thank you to our audience. If you've been watching us, and in case you ever need expert advice or any questions whatsoever, please feel free to connect with our guests and directly they will be happy to help, of course. Meanwhile, out of the over 420 people who expressed interest in this event, thank you very much for this. If you missed this session, I'm sure a lot of you missed it. You can find it on the event page anytime or on our page. Follow us, follow Expat Global page on LinkedIn and YouTube to get updates on our past and our future events, and see you all in 2 weeks. Thank you very much. Thank you, Daniela. Thank you, Andreas. Thank you, Raman.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madalena, thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.